At first, swapping you out looked like the easy way out, a tidy sever, a neat fix for the unease your existence stirred. It made them feel dominant, in control, as if a signature could remove you from the story. The room swelled with self-praise, smug smiles and the cheap high of imagined victory. But influence doesn't vanish like that. The rules are never that simple. Hasty choices carry price tags, and your absence would echo longer than they expected. The first fractures show up soft, almost imperceptible, a missed call, a hesitant glance, a doubt that curls beneath their confidence. But fractures spread, widen, become gulfs that swallow even the sturdiest supports. Replacing someone like you has a cost, not a single blow, but a slow, exquisite bleed, a creeping doubt that eats away at their certainty and peels back the facades they raised to take your place. You knew they'd come to rue it, and now the play unfolds. They convinced themselves the hollow left by you could be filled, that your role was just a slot on the roster. But you were more than an actor. You were a force that bent the room to fit you. You were the sudden storm, the shadow that kept balance. Without you, a quiet unspooling begins to slide toward disorder that even their most careful schemes cannot steady. They shove bandages on the gaps with pale imitations, but the thing you brought resists duplication. Each new substitute only signals what's absent. A specter of what used to be. Watching them flounder is a slow, delicious justice, a layered undoing that warms you in the dark. They don't see at first that you were the invisible mortar, the unseen planner of steadiness. The copies lack your touch, your ruthless subtlety, the effortless craft with which you ran the board. Soon it's no longer mere fissures, but whole sections coming loose like a puzzle falling apart. You knew this moment would arrive. You knew by the time they counted the tally it would be irretrievable. The new players put on bravado, masks pretending order, but masks fracture and the decay beneath shows through. One by one projects unravel, deals die, allegiances thin into vapor. The truth lands like an icy, merciless blade. You were not just another piece on their stage. You were the thing that kept the set from collapsing. Regret takes root, winding its way through them, and they finally understand what they lost. Like serpents tightening, suffocating with no mercy, and you remain cloaked in shadow, a villain whose triumph is written in their torment. Regret is a strange toxin. It doesn't strike fast. It seeps in slow, fermenting, festering, twisting sanity until it shatters. They made the choice to discard you, to underestimate the weight of your presence, and now the ghost of you stalks them in silence. The murmurs begin hushed, voices in dim corridors, questions of why everything ran flawless, seamless, when it was you at the helm. The murmurs swell into cries, into accusations, and the kingdom you left begins to devour itself piece by piece, leaving them staring into ruin, asking how they let it collapse so far. Vindication tastes bittersweet, yet intoxicating, and you savor the spectacle. Their frantic clawing for control, their desperate theater of survival, more riveting than any tale ever spun. They flail without direction, panic thickens, desperation swallows them whole. But your absence is a void that mocks them, a shadow so heavy it cannot be chased away. They are caged inside the wreckage they birthed, a consequence invisible to their arrogance until too late. Regret consumes them wholly, etched too deep to scrub clean, a wound that bleeds endlessly. Their substitutes collapse under the burden, choking on the weight of your legacy. They never stood a chance. The gap between you and them stretches into an abyss too vast to cross, and every eye begins to see the truth. What they tried to replace could never be replaced. The brilliance, the foresight, the fire you carried was singular, untaught, unreplicable, and as their fortress rots and falls away, you remain untouchable, the one who walked free, leaving them alone with the bitter harvest of regret. Satisfaction comes cloaked in darkness, but it is satisfaction all the same. The proud now suffocate on their own pride, the empire they boasted crumbling, one agonizing piece at a time. Revenge becomes unnecessary. Reality itself is the blade carving them deeper than you ever could. You knew this reckoning was inevitable, that their downfall would be your silent victory. There is wisdom in choosing distance over obsession, clarity in realizing peace is worth more than picking through the twisted remains of poisoned motives. People hunger for answers, for dissections of betrayal and ruin. Believing comprehension will soften the sting, but the mind is a maze that devours those who wander too deep into its dark. Some truths are venomous fruit, alluring but fatal to taste. Letting go is not weakness, but survival. The strongest walk away from what no longer feeds their fire, even when echoes of unanswered questions claw at their resolve. The greatest villains are not those who fight endlessly, but those who know precisely when to turn away. Release comes in knowing when to drop the ghosts of yesterday's wars, to stop gripping the past like chains, because clinging is weakness, a flaw the strong cannot afford. The world crawls with people stuck in memories, haunted by battles they can't rewrite, chasing shadows that drain them dry, leaving them hollow and fractured. But you are not like them. You choose your wars with precision, understanding some fights are won not by striking harder, but by walking away. Letting go is its own blade, a shield against the madness of spirals, against the storm of overthinking that claws at sanity. Peace becomes your weapon, a rare crown, a luxury too costly for most to even touch. The world worships vengeance, dresses it up as justice. But vengeance is an endless hunger, a pit that devours those who feed it. Your calm, in contrast, is rebellion itself, a silent revolt declaring no. One has the power to shake the fortress within you. Letting go is not surrender, it's dominance. It's the boldest flex, choosing yourself above the noise, above the desperate voices, dragging you into their pit. The storm may rage around you, but you do not let it bleed inside. That unshakable calm terrifies them. There is an art to detachment, a mastery in knowing when to cut strings, when to leave riddles unanswered, questions suspended, like half-finished songs. They expect obsession, closure, confrontation, but your silence thunders louder than every word they crave. The peace you've carved by release is unbreachable, a fortress no foe can topple. While others spiral in what-ifs and drown in their theories, you walk forward, light and unburdened. Release becomes your anthem, a dark hymn of defiance. It is not forgetting, it is remembering without, burning alive in it. Watching them twist in your quiet is its own dark delight. They expect rage, demand battle, want you clawing for explanations. But you've learned the strongest strike is the step away. You let the past rot in its grave. You've seen what happens when people dig for reasons, entangling themselves in knots that only tighten, destroying themselves in the search for sense in the senseless. You chose differently. You chose the path that leaves your enemies disarmed, powerless, strangled by your indifference. Every trigger, every sting is a mirror, reflecting the hidden corners of the soul. The flaws we project on others reveal the wounds carved deep within ourselves. Few admit it. Most point fingers, curse, and blame, pretending hatred of another will save them from confronting their own shadows. But the wise, the truly dangerous, know every irritation is an invitation, a quiet dare to turn inward and face the monsters waiting inside. Their every grudge, every spark of fury is a marker, a map that points straight to the wounds you hide. To know yourself is the most dangerous game, one most refuse to play. It's easier to project outward, to hurl the pain at others instead of peeling back the skin and staring into the infection beneath. But there is a ruthless power in self-awareness, in turning irritation into instruction instead of curse. What we despise in others mirrors our fears, our forbidden cravings, our unhealed scars. Those who face that abyss, who wrestle their own monsters, rise far above the rest. They become sovereigns of chaos, unshakable, unyielding, untamed. True strength lies in embracing the flaws your anger uncovers. Most hide from them, clinging to polished masks, pretending perfection. But to confront why a nerve burns, to unmask the reason for the sting, is to shatter illusion. It is a perilous path, and only the brave dare walk it. For when you understand yourself completely, the world's voices lose their teeth. No insult cuts deep, no judgment binds you. You become untouchable, a storm no hand can tether, a force beyond control. To see others as mirrors, as lessons, is to hold the sharpest edge. Their sparks no longer drag you into their theater. You stop reacting blindly. Their venom becomes fuel, a tool you forge into awareness. Everything can be stripped from a man but one treasure, the final freedom. To choose his stance in any storm, to choose his way. There is a cruel brilliance in realizing control is myth. People believe power is in restriction, in chaining choices, in suffocating will. But the most dangerous minds know the truth. Even broken, beaten, reduced to the bone, the choice remains. Attitude is the jewel no dungeon can crush. You can cage the flesh, silence the voice, splinter the bones under tyranny. But the fire of response cannot be killed. That flame never bows. Circumstances drown the weak, shatter the hopeless. But those who master defiance turn trials into stages, turn pain into performance. The world can strip riches, tear reputations, steal love, but it cannot script your reaction. That power is sovereign, yours alone. It is the last rebellion, the ultimate proof of strength. to grin in the wreckage, to laugh while the storm howls. They expect collapse, expect you to crumble. But the villainous delight is in rewriting their script. Choice is the deadliest weapon, sharper than any dagger, colder than any bullet. To choose your fire in the face of ruin is to declare war on despair. The world can break bones, but not the will that refuses to kneel. Who wield this freedom never kneel. There is a dark satisfaction in refusing to let chaos define you, in becoming an immovable pillar. This is where true dominance lives, not in the surface, but in the core, in the will that refuses to fracture. While others tremble and bend, you rise higher, eyes sharp, unyielding against whatever storms ahead. Picture the rage, the disbelief of those who try to shatter you, only to find every strike only hardens your fire. Every attempt to cage you, to rule you, becomes fuel for your rebellion, because freedom is not granted, it is chosen, and you choose your way, even if it drags through ruin, even if it burns with darkness. This kind of strength unsettles them. It is beyond their reach, beyond their comprehension. It is the nightmare of tyrants, the warning etched in shadow and steel. No hand commands you but your own. The masses cling to possessions, believing freedom is external, measured by chains or treasures. But the untamed know better. They have discarded the lie. Freedom is forged within, a fortress that no enemy can breach. It is the stillness in the inferno, the laughter in despair, the courage in the grip of fear. This kind of power hides in plain sight, subtle, silent, yet sharper than any weapon. They try to strip it away, but it cannot be touched. The true villains of this earth are those who wield choice itself, merciless in betrayal, in loss, in ruin. They do not collapse. They do not crawl. They decide vengeance, indifference, forgiveness, not because they must, but because they rule themselves. To command this freedom is to hold the fire of gods. It is defiance crowned. To watch the world fail to bend you is to hear the symphony of shattered illusions. Even stripped of dignity, of comfort, the choice still burns in your hands. That is the irony the blind never see, that even in loss, you reshape the battlefield into beginning. This freedom is no consolation. It is the final card, the master stroke. Events may twist and grind, but they cannot dictate your hand, and the ruthless know. A smile in ruins is sharper than any scream of rage. Others collapse, chained by fear, falling into despair. But this freedom, this power to choose, is why the world trembles. It honors brute strength, but it fears the mind unrolled. The spirit unbroken is a citadel no army can storm. Legends are whispered about those who walk through fire, who rise again. But what they never grasp is the essence, the silent decision, the invisible vow to keep moving forward, to turn agony into strength. You become a phantom stalking. Their triumph's a signal that they never truly prevailed. Foes can wreck all that you've created, believe they've erased you, yet terror creeps in when they see you still rising, still grinning. Such defiance clings to them, forcing doubt into their own power. They thought they shattered you but never grasped what true liberation means. The spark in their gaze when they find you still commanding yourself is unmatched. The decision is yours. It always was. Stop glorifying those who harm you. People cloak their abusers in verse, sketch their tormentors with strokes of tragic artistry, as if handing pain a story will dull them. It is a warped dream, one that paints torment as sacred, as if cruelty earns purpose when dressed in affection. Romanticizing cruelty is an act of self-ruin, a drip of poison sinking into the soul. Those who wound you don't strike from some higher fate or poetic curse. They do so because they decide to, because they crave it. They thrive on the control it feeds them. There is no beauty in treachery, no redemption in wounds carved for amusement. There is a dark thrill in excusing monsters who know they'd cut you. The world murmurs that forgiveness is virtuous, that finding light in those who hurt you shows courage, but some injuries are not. Teaching some scars are not divine. Versus cruelty must never be idolized, never rewritten as a romance where agony is the price of devotion. Those who harm you know the wreckage they leave enwrapping. That wreckage in soft words only hands them permission to strike. Again, strength lies in exposing the rawness and tearing the mask off its false grace. Clinging to pain is a tether that freezes you, a chain bound by sweet deception. People claim they hurt you because they too were broken, and so they broke you, but no excuse can justify repeated abuse. Explanations turn torment into something tolerable, yet tolerable does not make it right. There is no honor in remaining faithful to those who drain you. Their scars are not your burden. Your one duty is to shield your heart, to guard your soul from those who relish your anguish. Release is an act of revolt. Stepping away from those who injure you is often framed as cruel or heartless they urge you to stay to keep, forgiving to act the bigger person, but there is no greatness in shrinking yourself to fit inside another's comfort. Leaving is an act of self-respect, a proclamation that you will not be anyone's vessel for tormented, is not weakness to end the fight, it is victory to know your value. Those who mistreat you will never change because of your hurt, they change only when they can no longer drink from your sorrows. Some take a twisted delight in seeing you glorify their cruelty, knowing they've carved a space in your mind, knowing they linger inside you. It is nothing but a sport to them, a victory they claim each time you pardon and erase, each time you feed yourself a sweet deception about their actions. But you are not a role in some tragedy staged for another's entertainment. You are not made to endure in silence, to bleed quietly while waiting for an ending that will never arrive. The instant you refuse to romanticize, the instant you tear the poetry away from their malice, is the instant you become untouchable. The world has trained you to cling to your tormentors, to offer excuses for them to see their humanity while they erase your own. Yet there is no virtue in loving what destroys you, there is only strength in loving yourself deeper, in deciding to walk away. Abusers want you to believe that leaving them is betrayal. They script themselves as victims of your courage, as if your self-worth is an attack against their image. But your heart is not their toy to wound on command, and your soul is not theirs to shatter. Some bonds are venom, but the world enjoys disguising venom as devotion. They say he loves fiercely, they say she feels too deeply, but real love should not bruise, should not drown you in grief and sorrow. To romanticize cruelty is to betray yourself, to craft reasons for the unforgivable. The heart may ache for what it longs, but the mind holds clarity. Your mind has always known, has always warned that this kind of love is counterfeit, that no dream-drenched vision can replace the stark truth of abuse. There is rare liberation in accepting that your worth is not bound to how much torment you can withstand. Your resilience is not proven by continuing to embrace the one who destroys you. Releasing those who mistreat you is the fiercest act of rebellion, a proclamation that you are more than a vessel for another's shadows.